May you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Argentina. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm Brazilian. I live in Sao Paulo.
Can you reveal most common stereotypes about your country, about Brazil, and about Brazilian people in general? The one that you know.
Yes. Uh, Depends on the aspect, but in general, they always talking about football, like the Brazilians are crazy for football, about the music sometimes. And you have a really sexualizing the Brazilians, like for the women's, like for the phrase open-minded, they think Brazilians open-minded, so they think they're going to do everything about sexuality. So this is one of the things that most get on me about the stereotypes. That depends really from the country. So I see there are people that say that Brazilians it's always giving away to do the wrong things. There are places that say that Brazilians are really hard worker. So you have this, but I think the most one it's Brazilians is in everywhere, and they have this sexualized vision about the Brazilians.
Mm-hmm. I understand. And can you shortly explain why it is stereotype?
What I could see from my experience when I was in United States, that's what's happened. So in Brazil, although people think we are open-minded and everything, Brazil is kind of conservative. So it's opening a lot nowadays, but if you go countryside or some places it's pretty conservative. And then it's a gossiping place. So like if you do something, everyone your neighbor is going to know. So what I could see somehow, yes, there are few people that it's not free to do whatever they want, or they're not free to experiment stuff here in Brazil. When they have the opportunity to go abroad, so they are more able to try things, to experiment things, and be more free because no one is going to know. And then you get this view. And other thing too, that's not just about Brazilian, it's a consequence for how to say like poor countries. It's like usually there are girls then want to get married, or they have like the Brazil, they really sell Brazil like years ago. The like if you go the government was like selling Brazilians as a woman almost naked dancing, like women's in bikinis. So this was the way they are selling Brazil, football and women's in bikinis. So because this was sexualized and people don't can see all the other parts about Brazil, then there are people that's not really into that. But it's a mix between trying to experience new things about what they sell about Brazil, and sometimes about necessity. Like there are people that get married that they want to go abroad just because they don't have enough money to survive or to have a good life here.
Can you explain about your life in Sao Paulo? About lifestyle that common lifestyle that people have, if there is expensive in comparison to other city in Brazil to live in Sao Paulo, because Sao Paulo it's a huge financial center of Brazil, right, and of the South America, I think. Yeah. So can you explain about your life there and people's life there in general?
Yeah, it's really different. Like out Brazil, it's like this. So Brazil, they have economical talking. It's their huge jump between levels of society. So you're going to have really rich people living in Sao Paulo in mansions, then like just going for parties, traveling, private airplanes, and everything else. You're going to have like medium class in the city center, then going for the bohemian bars, like working during the week really hard, and sometimes go for happy hour, going out to weekends and enjoy. And then you're going to have people that's more working through the week, and then at weekends just being at home or doing something more house, like just a barbecue or something more close. But in general, like I could see Brazilians like to somehow party. They like to go to a bar, like to do things, like to be around people. I cannot generalize, but it's like it is. Even though in Sao Paulo, they say that Sao Paulo is the lonely city, because usually it's people from other states that move to Sao Paulo and live by themselves alone. But even though that, so they have this also socialization. In Sao Paulo specifically, we have a lot of culture. So you have cinemas, movies, shows, concerts. It's easy to access. But for example, and at this moment, I'm living a little, what we call the Great Sao Paulo. So I take at least 1 hour to go to the city center. So for this, I don't have access for much culture because it's a long way. Unless, for example, people that live there enjoy more when you're working in Sao Paulo. So you just get in the morning and then after work you do things around there. But if you're really have your life as outside, it's hard to really go to Sao Paulo, to the city.
What about nature near Sao Paulo? Because I know that Sao Paulo is a huge city and financial center and huge city, and there is enough parks and nature near the city, or people live very like not a countryside life when they go out for hiking and stuff. They just do something in the city, do sport in the city, or they still connected to nature even though they live in Sao Paulo.
I think this is going to depend a lot of the lifestyle, the economical status. But in Sao Paulo, in the city, we are going to have Ibirapuera Park. It's one of the biggest. It's like I forgot the name. The one in New York, the
Central Park?
Yeah, so it's like the idea of the Central Park, smaller in Sao Paulo. So you have a huge park in the middle of the city. So there are a lot of people that go there to run, to cycling, to watching the lights on the lake, just to juggle. So you have a lot of things. So there are people that do that. I saw a lot in Sao Paulo people cycling a lot lately. Even normal cycling and a lot of groups of cycling. They're really cycling kilometers around, like going to city to city. And so in the city, you have few parks, but not much. But if you go maybe like 1 hour away or less, you can have parks. So between, like just in the corner between Sao Paulo and Great Sao Paulo, you have a huge park it's a mountain, a small mountain that called Serra da Cantareira. So you're going to have small trails, a view from Sao Paulo. We have Pico do Jaraguá. It's just like a peak. Then you can have a good view. It's just like 1 hour hiking too. But going to the coast, that's like from Sao Paulo, maybe like 1 hour driving, you can get like the whole Mata Atlântica coast. So it's like the hill between the coast in Sao Paulo and the city, because the city is about 800 meters high. So all this part is a coast. So you have a lot of waterfall, you have the ocean, have trails. And then you go to countryside, you have a lot of cities with a lot of waterfalls, water sports, adventure sports. So you have a lot of things to offer, but usually it's a little abroad. So, or you have groups like then do like tourist trips, like weekends or something, or group of friends, or you need to do by yourself.
Can you explain me about prices in São Paulo? If there is, in comparison to other cities in Brazil, if there is expensive to live there, and some examples, for example, like how much is rent cost in the center of city, and how much food cost, some cafe activities. So this is expensive in comparison to other states or not?
I would say that São Paulo is one of the most expensive cities in the country. I think I just came into Brazil, and Brazil is not cheaper too. There are a few things that's cheaper. Rio, in the city center, is not cheaper too because it's really tourist. Rio, it's because it's touristic. Brazil, I don't know why they're expensive in some things. And here in São Paulo, just because we have this economical, but it change a lot. So in the city center, you can find a coffee for R$2, and you can find a coffee for 15 reais. So it depends where you go. If the place is like, nowadays they have a lot of gourmet things. So you can get all the normal food that you buy in the street, and now they're in the gourmet version. like the burger and everything. So you're going to buy more things expensive, but you can find both. You can find the cheaper one and you can find the expensive one.
Yeah.
But in general, like food lately, it's been more expensive for the economical and pandemic and everything reason. But it is different from the rent, for example. As I said, like I live a little abroad, so I can rent like a normal apartment, like a simple apartment, like 2 rooms, maybe for like 800 reais. In Sao Paulo, our studio, that's at least half of the apartment, you're going to pay 2,000 reais. You know, if you go to live in the city center, or sometimes there are people paying 1,000, 2,000 reais just in a room.
So it depends of the place in the city or in the area.
Yes. So if it's a safe area, if it's a middle class area, if it's a social area, if a business area, so you're going to have a difference.
And for people who is not from Brazil, can you tell me and name some things how to fit it in your society, in Brazilian society? How to act, how to speak, how to look, what you should to know to perfectly fit in?
I think it depends where you're going, but in general, Brazilians are really welcoming for foreigners. So Brazilians like foreigners. You know, I think maybe there is a difference, and it can be mistaken between where you come from. You know, like if you're white foreigner, they're going to see you more as a foreigner. But if you're black or Latin, you're just like us. So you're not really a foreigner. You know, they call it gringo. So sometimes I can say, but in general, Brazilians are really welcoming. But as I advise, is like try learn Portuguese because most of the place you're not going to get people speaking English or other language. Even though in Sao Paulo you can find, but it's not much. Like if you go for the shopping and doing the things like supermarkets, people is not going to talk. Maybe in Rio, in the city center, because it's really touristic, you're going to get people speaking in English, but in general, people doesn't speak in English. Normally, just act normally the way you are. Depends where you're walking, just avoiding like really expensive accessories and walking the phone. It's always good to get to know around, get to know people from there, you know, how to do on those places.
And if you know Spanish, but you don't know Portuguese, it is like Spanish is acceptable in Brazil, or most people don't speak Spanish, or they will understand if somebody speaks Spanish but not speak Portuguese.
I think it depends. Like people that are used to listen Spanish, like for me, I don't speak Spanish, but I can understand very well. So we can get a little bit which Brazilian doesn't like, because this is one of the stereotypes too, because they think because when you're in South America, everyone think we speak Spanish too, because most of the countries are around us is Spanish, not Portuguese. But I would just say, if you're in a big city, if you try to speak Spanish slower, it's possible because you have a lot of similar words. But there are few people that maybe it's going to be like, no, it's not my language, it's not like it is. But in general, you're really like body communication. If you need help, someone's going to help independent of the language.
Can you tell me if the Brazilian people in general traveling a lot inside country, or they go and travel and explore abroad?
I think it's a mixed. There are a lot of people that have this idealization about traveling abroad, you know, like going out and do other things, because like some Brazilians idealize that abroad it's better, like Europe, the United States is better than Brazil. But lately people is traveling more in Brazil. I think it's being, although it's hard in time, people is being more accessible, like to get a flight. Like even though before people traveling states get 3 days buses, today it's being more manageable get a flight, because the price and the time is not going to be the same. So people are traveling more, but sometimes they go more small trips, like going to the coast, going to small towns in the countryside. But they're more active in traveling inside, yes, like families and everything else. And I think who's travel more abroad are youngers, like that really wanted to explore or to try the things, professionally think of something, or someone that's already retired but had a good life. So they wanted to enjoy it in another way too.
And what is the most popular destination to travel inside Brazil? And did you ever try to travel to jungle? Did you been in jungle?
We have the Amazon flowers. I've never been there. So Manaus is a huge city. That's the capital of Amazonas. It's a huge city, but I've never been there. I think most of Brazilians generally travel for coast. And then you have a huge coast. So you have Bahia, you have Fortaleza, you have Ceará, we have South Coast, like Florianopolis, Rio. So it's in general, I think people travel more for coasts than for countryside. And even for the coast, like for example, if you go to Amazonas, from Sao Paulo to there, the flights is pretty expensive, and if you go there, you need to be in the lodge, so you don't have like really cheaper options. You need to do that. It's an experience, because sometimes you need to take the boat and then arrive in the place and be in the lodge, but you have like native experience, like go to stay with native people from Brazil there too. It's more experimental experience too. But it's something more people. It's more about experience and trying and seeing different things. It's not that much relaxing. So people goes more for the coast or count some cities like with pools. Yes, but it's depends on the people. The ones that like more surfing or hot weather, cold weather.
What about Brazilian food? I know that Brazil love to eat meat. You consume a lot of meat.
I would say, like, usually, at least for Sao Paulo, Rio, we have the basic food that's rice, beans, some kind of meat, and some vegetables or salad. So this is like the basic, can be daily food for people. I think maybe the access, because we usually have a lot of farms, so they have a lot of things that they create a lot these. I think in northeast they usually have like dry meat, but a lot of things we do is like Brazil came from slavery, like big farms and everything. So you need like strong food that give you a lot of straightness for the people who work the whole day. So most of the food in Brazil, we are going to see that's somehow heavy food. So rice, beans, potato, meat. It's pasta, although it's pasta, it's from Italian, but we eat a lot of pasta. Some kind of flours. So we have a lot of different kind of flours. So it's really strong food, because you have this heritage of we need to have one good meal, because you need to survive the whole day under the of the sun working.
Now let's talk about Brazilian people in general. Can you name and explain the common portrait of Brazilian person in the area near Sao Paulo?
I think from Sao Paulo, it's hard to say.
Yeah, because it's a lot of people from all country go together, and
Yes, because as economical area is a place that it's really mixed. So you can find like brunette people, curly hair, straight hair, native Brazilians that really have really straight and black hairs, and it's kind of brunette. Can have blonde people. So it's really mixed. So just for one example, so in Brazil, you have in Sao Paulo, have the biggest Japanese community. So imagine how many descendants of Japanese and Chinese you have in Sao Paulo. You have a big Italian community. So you have a lot of descendants from Italians. You have Jewish community. So you really have a lot of mixed. So you have Native Brazilians, you have Africans. So Sao Paulo, it's really, really mixed, you know. But if you go for other states, sometimes it's like Amazonia, you're going to see a lot of more Native Brazilians. If you go more Bahia, you're going to see more black people that's more from Africa descent. If you go to South, it's more European. So you can go to South and see a lot of German, Polish descendant.
And what about personality of Brazilian person in general? Can you tell me some specific moments from personality that can represent Brazilian?
I think somehow Brazilians are really welcoming. You know, they are open to talk, to get to know. Of course, you have like shy people, have more introvert people. But in general, like if you go for a place with a lot of Brazilians, everyone speaks louder, everyone likes being a little expensive. So I think we are more for expensive and extrovert somehow. Even though for the introvert, when they're in the comfort zone, you know, like if they're friends and everything, they're more extrovert. But we are more welcome. A lot of people say that we are like touching people. So you're like saying hi and like touching all the time. Touching. You know, touching, yes.
True, right?
That's not everyone, but you do a lot.
But when you say hello, do you kiss or not?
Yes.
When you meet somebody you first like met in your life, did you kiss like hello?
Usually, yes. So for me, yes. So in Sao Paulo, it's just one kiss. Rio, there are 2 kisses. Yeah, so we can hug. Like with pandemic time, we just like do the hands or just holding the hands. But it's common. If you're in a group of friends and it's like your friends say like, hey, this is this person, and someone give the kiss, they usually going to kiss everyone that's there.
And talking about family in Brazil, is Brazil it's family-oriented country, and in the area of São Paulo, are people having huge families, or because of this financial center, it's a little bit smaller and more individual? Because I know that from the countryside, maybe it can be a huge community of family people, but in a big city.
I think lately is changing much, so the families are choosing to have less kids. So for example, if you look at my parents, they have like 9 brothers and sisters, 10, 12 brothers and sisters. For my generation, usually I'm going to see between 3 and 5. And the new generation, like 1 or 2 or none. Like there are a lot of people choosing not to have kids nowadays. But you see, usually in the city center, it's less kids. But if you go a little abroad, then have more. And I can see social talking. Sometimes who is less financially affordable, they have more kids. You know, then I think who one of the things, for example, because usually you should just go get for the public school and everything else. And then when you have a status, you're going to get your kids for the private school and then everything else. And then the higher to have the cost to have a kid is really higher.
Yeah.
Yes, if you really want to focus and raise and, you know, give everything. But when depends where you live, then you have public access for the things and it's not something in your mind. Like how the kid's going to develop, people should get a little more kids. But it's really, really less than it used to be.
And what age people usually get married in the big cities, like Sao Paulo in Brazil?
I think lately people is getting more like after 30s. So I think it's more like already are doing really young, like between the 20s, like just get to know 20, 21, like early 20s. Or they doing like almost late 30s, almost 40. You know, because they're going to focus on career and studies and then get into the relationship and family.
Can you explain a little bit about traditions around marriage? Like, do you have same like in America when do you Americanize in this point when they present like engagement ring with a diamond? And then
I don't say with the diamond, but you do have like usually when you're just boyfriend and girlfriend, because you have stages, you know, like you're meeting someone, you're dating someone, you have a time you're not official couple,
yeah.
but you're exclusively being seeing each other, you know. But when you sometimes when you're official a couple, they used nowadays I'm not sure, but they used to give a ring, like a silver ring to say like, okay, we are a couple, like a boyfriend girlfriend couple. And then when they get engaged, it's just a normal ring, but the gold one in the right hand. The gold one, this means that you're engaged. But it's that there are people that use with the diamonds or something, but usually it's just like a normal ring, the plain one.
And talking about other traditions in Brazil, can you name few traditions that like most of Brazilians follow?
One thing that everyone jokes, like in Brazil, at least in Sao Paulo, people is getting out of the house late. You know, it's not different from some countries that's 18, just go away. Here is like, no, the 30 years and you're still living with the parents. So there are people that live by themselves. There are people just get still living with the family. I think it depends. There are a lot of traditions that it's like usually have like the day waiting for the whole family, meeting the whole family. There are families that still with that. There are families that doesn't do. It depends really, really from the country, the city, the state, the religion. So if you're Catholic, so you're going to the church, you're celebrating some specific things. If you're a Protestant, you have another kind of lifestyle. I think religion rules a lot. I think if you think about tradition in Brazil, the religions rules a lot, and you have a lot of religions in Brazil. You have like African religions, you have Catholic, you have Protestant, you have really, really a lot things.
Can we talk a little bit about beauty standards in Brazil? For example, like a curvy figures, and for example, like curly hair or a darker skin, lighter skin, like in general.
Yeah, I think it's so you get a long time, you know, like the model style that should be the perfect one, like really skinny, straight hair. So you had for a long time this kind of the ideal body for the Brazilians, but Brazilians doesn't have a specific body, you know, exactly because this mixing is different. Like I was talking with a friend, like if you go for a few countries, you can see like, okay, they have like usually two types. You have the curved one, but the curved ones like are like this and this, or and then you have the skinny one. In Brazil, the curved one can be this, can be this, can be this. So even though the curvy is not a specific curve body, so it's really different. So you have for a long time the selling like the perfection was be like jelly beating, like really skinny and everything else. And then I got a time about really, you know, like kind of sexy, like curvy words, but like no belly, big butts, big boobies and everything else. Even though like Brazil is a really good place for who wants to do like surgery, plastic surgery. So like even though the Brazilian butts is a reference, like how do you want your butt in the surgery, plastic surgery. So you have this style, but lately here in Brazil, I think it's changing, you know, for changing this view about how is a perfect body. So I still a lot of people going to gym and everything else. So it's between people is getting like more muscles, like so the more bodybuilding. But at the same time, more bodybuilding, there are a lot of people accepting their own bodies, like a little overweight, but being health overweight. Even though for the hair, so a long time everyone have curly hairs, they are like straightening. Now they are assuming, so they say like transitioning. So there are a lot of people doing that transitioning, like going back for their own hair. But even though in the marketing, it's nowadays they're starting to have more diversity, colors, type of bodies. You know, like when you go to buy a bikini, usually it was just one type of mannequin. But now you can see like 5 types of mannequin because we have like at least.
Yeah, it's worldwide now. Like all around the world, they start to do this like body positive stuff. Like the all sizes, all colors, all nationalities, cultures, and it's good. It's a good thing. Can you name positive and negative sides of dating person from your country in general? I know that all it's like all is personality about personality, but in general, some facts that people should to know.
I think positive in somehow Brazilians are pretty effective. So you're going to see people holding hands, hugging, kissing. You know, it's really showing affection publicly. Publicly, I think we are really like this. One thing I joke that we usually Brazilians has pegada. Not everyone, but like pegada. You know, like pegada. We call like, you know, when the person has a way to hold, and you know that the person that is just know how to put the hands the right place, and just like wow, you know. I always joke, you know, like Fast and Furious. Then you have the scene that the Vin Diesel just get the girl and put on the car. So it's just like this is pegada, like the person that really knows how to do things. So I think generally Brazilians have more this. So we do have some kind of sensuality. So it's nature. Like even though people doesn't like somehow, even it's like we kind of have some days. But I think the most thing about Brazilians is really like more affectionate. So you hug, you kiss, you tell, so you can see the love and everything else. It's not something like cold. For sure, we are not cold in relationships.
There is some negative sides after this.
There are a lot of cheating. Unfortunately, cheating is kind of cultural. You know, it's something kind of should not be acceptable. But when say like, oh, someone's cheating, say like, oh, okay, everyone does, you know. But I think the worst thing, it's like this, like cheating is something that unfortunately got as normal, and have a lot of people that's jealous. And for the both ways, you know, like the girl, like the guy cheating, and the girl instead fight with the guy, the girl fight with the other girl. Yeah, so I think the big problem in Brazil is the cheating.
Now it's time to spin in the wheel. Basically, on my website, I have a wheel with a random amount of USDC. So now I will spin the wheel, and the amount that will appears on the screen, it's a random amount. I will send it to your cryptocurrency wallet as a prize. Ready?
Ready?
1, 2, 3. 25.
Good.